she's got some kind of handler who's helping. And it may be that her helper, who she's really close to, screwed up.
Who's never been involved in politics ever before.
And
no,
it's not that. It's just that it's just that we all say fire him. Well, fire him on her behalf because somebody poorly served her. But if she says, "Don't fire that one," that's the only one I like.
Yeah.
So figure out some other way. We'll go apologize. We'll acknowledge, a screw up. But so we'll see what happens here.
Well, on that note, that leads us to our first break. But when we come back, there will be more on the convention. When we come back. And we are back, and we're still talking about the Republican National Convention Day 1. Al, you had a question for our Republican colleagues.
Well, it occurred to me, we were talking about the speeches last night, and there weren't any really good ones, not the kind that are going to go down in history.
No.
And it occurred to me...
No, Melania's is going down in history for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, well, he's going down.
But not as a great speech.
No.
And I was thinking back about Democratic conventions, and there was the great Cuomo speech. There was Teddy Kennedy's speeches, a couple of them. Barack Obama's speech, that were really great pieces of rhetoric. And I could not think of a Republican that did that, and I'm sure there must have been. But I pay less attention to Republican speeches, so maybe the Republicans here could help me out and tell me who was the great speech maker on the Republican side.
Yesterday.
No, not yes. Well,
Or just in general.
just in general, I don't think Republicans are as good speech makers as Democrats. Is
No, they're serious. They're serious politicians. They're not speechers.
I know. I seem to recall when Colin Powell gave a speech at the Republican convention. I want to say in 2000, his speech was pretty impressive. The substance is escaping me, but it was a guy who grew up in New York as a poor kid, and I believe his parents were immigrants. I believe, and that he talked about working at for a Jewish dry cleaner, which is how he learned Yiddish, of all things.
But Nelson Rockefeller could give a good speech. But then so could Hubert Humphrey, back on the Democratic side. I'm just trying to think. Everett Dirksen.
Dirksen could give a good speech.
But at the convention, this is actually a worthy question, because I'm thinking back on Republican speeches that have made history. Obviously, Ronald Reagan, the shining city on the hill, and the Gipper, and the putting a smiling face on Americana.
Obviously, how could I forget? Obviously,
was always good.
He was unique.
But even, and this predates me, but even before he was got the nomination in '76, his speech welcoming Gerald Ford to the stage when Ford defeated him for the nomination, even that speech goes down in history as far as a history-making moment. Since then, all the history-making moments seem to be on the negative side. I mean, even Colin Powell's speech, because he's no longer welcomed in Republican circles, the only other speeches that seem to pop to mind are Pat Buchanan's speech, which again falls into the category of be afraid, be very, very afraid. So who else runs on the positive side?
I'm trying to remember his name. He is dead now.
You're thinking
football player.
Jack Kemp.
Jack Kemp gave a very good speech.
He could give a speech, and even Goldwater, for notwithstanding the fact that he was conservative and got slaughtered, he gave a memorable speech.
Yeah.
Yes,
where he was talking about. Trying to remember how he was defending being a conservative. That was
something
that
about
was no vice, virtue and vice. And it was I would have to look it up again, but
That's
it's sort of a famous line
that was
from
a
the
great
speech.
speech.
no virtue in no vice.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that Democrats seem to be better talkers.
Very
Goldwater's
Goldwater's quote: "The extremism in defense of liberty is no vice, and moderation in pursuit of justice is no virtue."
Yep.
And that is a line that has proved the test of time.
And his
In spite of the fact that I had to look it up in order to remember it.
Well, no, but we knew there was something.
Yeah.
So we all kind of knew. Oh yeah, what's that thing? And extremism was the first word. So
Well, and it wasn't. In the time, it was kind of electric and brought a lot of negativity toward him. But it just as a statement, it's hard to argue with.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it was. There was a turn of phrase there that people could reflect on and think about, because any of the famous lines anybody could have given them, but just that a particular person gave them at a particular point in time, and it made a difference. And it's sort of convention speeches, inaugural speeches, which are a bigger deal.
It was interpreted as a defense of extremism, which is not what I think he intended.
Yeah.
well, so that being said, I mean, many people have made note that the conventions are no longer a smoke-filled rooms, unlike what we do here, where they're picking people out and actually trying to get the thing done. But they're a made-for-TV production. So what was the goal yesterday? The slogan for the day was "Making America Safe Again." First and foremost, is that slogan meaningful to most of America? Are most Americans feeling under threat? or is this something that for the Republican base that feel under threat for how America has been changing? Alan Moore.
Well, so there are two things going on here. He's got his Trump has his famous line, "Make America Great Again," and so this is a play on that. And the reason to talk about safe is because in the last couple of weeks we've had police we have killings on camera of black victims killed by police. Then we have attacks on police in Dallas and in Baton Rouge, and then we have this grotesque truck through a crowd killing 85 people in Nice, France. It's been a bad couple of weeks, and there's and that on the heels of other terrorist attacks by Islamic crazy people, and both in the U.S. and in Orlando and San Bernardino, and then in Paris. So there is this fear that there are crazy individuals, and then there are crazy clusters of people, a lot of whom are willing to die, which is the new calculus of recent history, and are willing to just kill numbers of people rather than particular individuals. So when you feel like, wait, I could be a target, and those of us who live in around Washington, people could maybe do harm to political leaders as well as lots of folks and die in some kind of martyrdom. So there is
maybe we should move our program away from the window.
You know,
Good point.
well, only if people start listening to us. When we might worry.
There's no fear. We have nothing to worry about.
So I think that the safe issue, this issue of safety, is an issue, and it's an issue because Republicans are making an issue, and it's an issue because of what's going on in America and in the world. None of us feel as settled as we'd like to.
I am surprised. You know, to say "Make America Great Again" implies that America is not now great, and it seems to me that there's a point to be made that that's nonsense, that we're still strong, our economy is strong, we're militarily strong, we're still a leader in the world.
Any way you look at it, that's the case.
Yeah,
the Republicans showed they attracted at least two models to put on prime time to speak about America's greatness, both being Melania Trump and, again, Antonio Acevedo. Both models spoke in prime time about how America is great, that are immigrants to the United States.
I think Americans are frustrated by a variety of things, many of which are beyond the control of anybody who's running for president. How do you stop a truck driver in Nice from killing 85 people as president of the United States? But it seems to me that it's just inherent in Trump's approach that he's diminishing the United States. He's saying the United States is diminished, and he's going to bring it back. And I think the premise is wrong. Just dead wrong.
Well, one of the lines that came from yesterday was from Giuliani's speech was, "What I did for New York, Donald Trump will do for America." So, Mayor Giuliani is famous for helping to clean up New York City pretty dramatically with some police tactics that some people found questionable, but also the broken windows policing for people who don't know about that, suggesting that police paying attention to the little things can help clean things up. Most noteworthy is Times Square used to be full of adult bookstores, and now there are places you can have a picnic in little seating areas.
You got to go over 88th Avenue now.
I will leave that one be.
That would be wise. I'm with you, Al.
He didn't clean it up; he moved it around.